All right, welcome to episode 2. Let's dive into this. So the main subject of this conversation is going to be fears around starting a healthy routine, fears associated with starting something new, fears associated with stepping into the unknown, and maybe fears associated with starting something different. So one of the biggest questions I get about this is this question of lack of time. A lot of people feel as though they don't have a lot of time in their day, they don't have a lot of time in their week to all of a sudden throw in a brand new routine that is going to take up a huge portion of their day. And I'd like to just dive into that a little bit. I'd like to talk a little bit about the sacrifices that we need to take for ourselves for other areas of our life. First thing I would like to point out is that every single one of us, I would say 99% of us that claim that we don't have time, we really do have time. It took a huge reflection into my life, into looking at different areas of the day that I was procrastinating, or different areas of the day that I was scrolling through social media or spinning on Netflix or mindlessly doing things that didn't make a lot of sense. 15 minutes here, 30 minutes there. I feel as though, and this is true for me in my life, as soon as I began to focus on my health, my wellness, I could show up more powerfully, more attentively in the other areas of my life. So if you claim you don't have the time in your day to go to the gym because you got work and you have to take care of your kids afterwards, I would argue that, and this is true for me, as soon as you begin to prioritize yourself, the other areas of your life will also benefit. It's almost like if you were starving for oxygen, you cannot expect to help anybody else if you yourself are deprived of the necessity of air itself, right? So if you're deprived of the necessity of air to push you, to carry you through a task, and you're lacking that air, how do you expect to help anybody? How do you expect to show up more powerfully in your own life? And to me, your own body, our own body is a temple. It's going to carry us through the rest of our life, is going to propel us in our business, it's going to propel us in our careers, it's going to propel us as parents and siblings and as spouses, right? And so if we are depriving ourselves of the very necessity that it needs in order to show up in those areas, I would argue that area, such as your health and wellness, is more important than the time we're spending on Netflix. And I know sometimes it's easy to get caught up in the moment and you're like, I need this time off for myself. I need to unwind. I need to get on Facebook. I need to get on Instagram and mindlessly scroll through TikTok. But it's not really shutting off your mind. It's not really doing the things that you think it's doing. And the reality is we end up wasting a lot of time doing things that don't really ultimately benefit us, right? And so I would just say that if you claim that you don't have time, and you may be a rare case where you truly don't have time, but reflect on your life. Ask yourself, am I blocking out enough time in the day for myself so that I can get that oxygen, quote unquote, get those bare necessities in order to show up in my relationships, in my friendships, in my business, in my career, as a spouse, as a parent. We need to be able to focus on ourselves for at least a few short hours throughout the day, right? And it doesn't have to be anything crazy. It could be just an hour every single day, 30 minutes even. But I think taking back that time from things that aren't really doing that much for us, such as spending that time on social media or watching Netflix, or even just doing mindless tasks that you don't really need to be doing. We could take that time back from those things and put it into something that's actually going to feed into the areas of our life that we truly love. Maybe you love hiking. Maybe you love playing with your grandkids. Maybe you love looking great on the beach, right? Or maybe you would love that idea. I would argue that that feeling, the satisfaction you would get from all those things that I just mentioned is going to be greater than the satisfaction you're getting from the Netflix show that you're going to forget about next week that you even watched. So that's how I feel about that question. The next question I get is this fear of failure, right? What if you start something new? What if you start something that is outside of your comfort zone? And let's say that you pull the trigger on this thing, this new goal, right? And we've all had them. We've all had these New Year's resolutions. I'm not saying I'm better than anybody. You come up with a goal, it sticks for about a week or two, and then suddenly it just kind of falls on the back burner. Fear of failure, I think, is derived from that experience. So as we build up a model of our reliability on ourselves, so we say we're going to do something and we don't do it, I think it compounds this lack of belief in ourselves and builds up this idea of failure and that fear of failure, because we see that as an inevitable experience. When we say we're going to commit to something, we don't really commit to it because we have all of these past experiences in our life that say, you've committed to this in the past and you didn't stick with it. Why is this any different? I think this fear of failure we need to reject. And one of the ways I think we reject it is through undeniable action, right? We build up this fear of failure through repetitive actions that continuously build that model of failure, right? So in order to beat that, we must build up an undeniable model that demonstrates that you are not a failure, right? So how do you do that? In my opinion, and what I've done in the past, is I stack small wins. It's not about huge goals, although it would be nice to have them. It's about stacking the small wins throughout the day. You stack the small wins throughout the day, you will win the week. You win the week, you win the month, right? You win the month, you get the year, right? So you get that. So I think if we can start focusing on small tasks, it doesn't have to be that big of a deal. 15 minutes of time outside, right? You make that commitment to yourself. That's not that hard to commit to. 15 minutes, I can do that. We can all do that pretty easily. You create a realistic goal. You attack it every single day. You accomplish it until it becomes an undeniable habit. That's a healthy habit that reinforces this inverse failure, right? We'll say this confidence builder. We do this over and over with small wins. I just demonstrated 15 minutes of time outside, walking around, breathing outside. Maybe put your feet on the ground for 15 minutes every single day. Not that hard, right? That's a small win. Next up, you could say, I'm gonna just step into the gym and I'm just gonna do 1 to 3 different kind of exercises. I don't care what they are, but I'm gonna do them. So you step into the gym, that's not that hard. On days that you don't feel like doing something, you go in and you do the easiest task that you can think of, but hey, you went in there and you checked off that block of, I did this thing. That's a win. I stacked that win, right? And then the next thing you could say, today instead of gonna be focusing on an entire day of eating clean, eating healthy, which may be really unrealistic coming from where you're at, saying, I'm going to not eat one thing today that I want, but I'm gonna make the choice not to. Now that's pretty easy, right? Because at some point, I think throughout all of our days, at least most of us, we're presented with an option of, here's this thing, you want it, and you can deny it. Deny it one time. One item that you deny every single day. It could be simple as a Coke, as simple as an ice cream cone, whatever it is. Deny it, right? Stack the win. So those are 3 things off the top of my head that I can think of that you just stack the small win, right? And you build up this inverse fear of failure. And I think in the long run, as we do that, this builds confidence. And then this overarching fear of stepping into the unknown I think is diminished, because then we now begin to believe in ourselves that when we say we're going to do something, we actually do it. And we don't build this fear model based on the fact that we don't show up when we say we do. So that's how I've attacked it in my life. The next question is about physical discomfort. So being physically uncomfortable, I think, is a big reason why a lot of people don't want to exercise. It goes against every bit of our biological nature. Why would you do something that is going to be uncomfortable and hurt and suck and be painful, make you sweat, make your skin hurt, make your muscles hurt, make your bones hurt, make you sore for a week? Why would you do that? You have everything that you need. You got food, sleep, whatever, right? You have everything that you need. Why go through the extra pain of doing something that's really not going to benefit you? That's the way our minds work, and you have to understand that that's where we come from. We are as much of an animal as every single animal, whether it's a dog, lion. We are no different in that regard, right? You feed a dog, what happens? It's full, it goes to sleep. Has no desire to hunt, has no desire to want anything else. It's gotten everything that it wants. I think this is where we as humans, our level of consciousness will allow us to look at that and say, okay, my lack of exercise makes me feel depressed. Okay, eating too much food, laying around all day, having zero contact with a group of individuals that are pushing themselves makes me feel depressed and anxious. And I would just like to mention at this moment, I'm not a psychologist, but I will say, being depressed and anxious is not normal. It is not a normal thought pattern of our biological nature. We're not meant to be that way. Hence, the pressure to want to change when you are anxious and depressed is forcing you to say, hey, I need to change something that I'm doing. So, as a conscious human, if we say, I'm doing all of these things, eating, sleeping, lying around, I'm content all the time, yet I am depressed and anxious all the time, not fulfilled all the time, I would say, look at your lifestyle and ask yourself, if the pain of your anxiety and the pain of your depression, of lying around, eating whatever you want, never stepping outside of your comfort zone, if the pain of you doing that is greater than the pain of you stepping into the gym for a short 15 to 30 minutes of pain that really actually triggers a lot of really great hormones, why would you continue to do the thing that's making you depressed and anxious, right? It doesn't make any sense. But I think people equate that pain and discomfort as a familiarity, right? So we're familiar with being anxious and depressed associated with our lifestyle. We're familiar with that, but we're not familiar with stepping outside of our comfort zone, stepping into a place of physical discomfort in our muscles, in our body, in our brain. And I think the lack of familiarity is what is scary about it. And I would say the best way to overcome that is to find a group of people that are doing the same thing and be as open and as transparent with those people as possible. I think that's going to be your best bet. I think that digs right back down into our biological nature. We are tribal beings. We need a group of people that are on the same journey as us. It makes us stronger, it makes us better, more fulfilled, gives us purpose. So that's my answer to that question. The next question I get about this fear of stepping into a new routine is this lack of knowledge, right? So this lack of knowledge, like this question gets brought up of like, you know, I want to start a routine, I want to get better in my physical health, but I don't know how to, right? I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do when I get into the gym. I don't know what to do when I'm eating at home. I don't know what to buy in the grocery store, right? So all of this stuff that I don't know, I don't want to do this thing. It seems daunting. It seems too much. It seems like a hassle. Yeah, I would say a couple things. If you don't know what you're doing in the gym and you want a fitness routine, you want some way to know what to do on any given day, whether it's leg day, chest day, you don't know what you're doing in the gym, you would like to know what exercises to do, I have a free workout routine on my fitness page. All you have to do is fill out a 60-second questionnaire, super easy. Put your email in there. As soon as you hit submit, it's gonna send you a workout guide. So that covers you there. So there's no excuse when it comes to routine there. That's all you have to do. And I'll link that in this video for anybody that is wanting to see that workout guide, right? So there's no excuse when it comes to your workout routine. I just gave you that. But what about the other stuff? What about when you step into the unknown and you're in the grocery store, right? How do you know what to get? How do you know what to buy? How do you know whether you're doing all of this work and it's paying off, right? I think that's a big question that people ask. And I would say, if you don't know, there are people that do know. There are people that spend their entire life learning so that they can know, so that they can help people like you. So your lack of knowledge is no different than a doctor who is a freshman in college and knows nothing about being a doctor, or an engineer who is a freshman in college and knows nothing about engineering. It is the first step you take is going to be uncomfortable. It's going to require you to step outside of your comfort zone. It's going to test you. But you have to ask yourself, is it worth it? Is being the version of yourself that you were meant to be worth it? Is taking your shirt off at the beach and not feeling this anxiety and this fear, is it worth it? What would it feel like if tomorrow, or in 3 months, let's say, you woke up in a body that you were proud of, that you felt no shame when you looked in the mirror? What would that feel like? How much pressure would that take off of you? And then ask yourself, is the knowledge to get there, is the gap in the knowledge to get there, the discomfort it would take to fill that gap between not knowing to fully knowing how to do it, is the pain that gets you there that much greater than the pain you already feel when you look in the mirror? The anxiety you already feel when you take your shirt off at the beach? I would argue it's not. I would argue the way that we feel is the most important thing about us, because the way we feel dictates how we show up in our everyday conversations with people that we have, with conversations that we have at work, with our business, with our family. So it all comes back to us. So I would argue that the way that you feel in that situation is the most important thing. It dictates how we feel about ourselves. And that's a reflection of what's on the inside. But it's my goal to be somebody that is open enough that I can hear your problems, understand them because I've lived through them, and then help you how I help you in a way that's helped me get through mine, right? And I think that's what it's all about. Because I think in some way, we've all kind of gone through that fear of, I don't know what I'm doing. This fear of lack of knowledge. Like, I go into the gym and I'm gonna get on a treadmill for 45 minutes and then I'm gonna suddenly have a six-pack. Is that how it works? Or do I have to do 1,000 crunches every single day? Or what does it take? Do I have to eat 10 eggs in the morning and nothing but broccoli for lunch? Like, what does it take to get there? Well, I promise there are people out there that spend their entire life learning this stuff so that they can teach people like you. So reach out to them. All right, so there's quite a few more questions that I would love to get to. For the sake of time, I'm I'm actually going to shoot this off to episode 3. I'm not going to be able to get to all of these right now. And I appreciate you guys listening. I want to be as transparent as possible. I want to take everything that I've learned in my life and lay it off on everybody that is willing to learn and listen, because knowledge is truly the difference, is the separation between where you're at now and where you want to be. It's truly the only difference. It's not your body, it's not your genetics, it's not your habits, although your habits play into it. It is the knowledge and the separation between what you know and what you don't know. And I think seeking that information and doing your best to try to seek that out is what I'm trying to do for everybody, is try to fill that gap, try to fill in the space for people so that they can take that next step in their journey. And that's my goal. So thanks for listening, and let's get after it.